Alright, Siegeheads, Year 6, Season 1 is upon us, and since Ubisoft were awesome enough to let us check it out early, we're here to talk about it. Now, it isn't a huge update, but the changes it does bring are life-changing. We've got streamer mode, match replays, a border rework, picks after the prep phase, and remote-controlled nitro cells? Let's f***ing go. Okay, so before we start talking shop, I thought I would just remind you all that we are within earshot of 2 million subs, and that it's a milestone that I'd like to hit sometime in the near future. Like, before Valk inevitably gets ACOG. Kappa. Also, make sure to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments if you want to see more in-the-weeds Siege content such as this. This past Wednesday, Ubisoft let us participate in the preview event for Year 6's inaugural season, Crimson Heist. Not Operation Crimson Heist. They dropped that part. Probably because CSGO operations exist. Even though they suck. I was also afforded the privilege of sitting down with one of Siege's most recognizable and widely adored game designers, Emilies Interview, who was kind enough to answer all of my burning questions about this newest update. Okay, so it's called Crimson Heist because the new operator is a swanky, sneaky, thiefy Argentinian boy named Flores. He boasts Thatcher's AR-33, which is woefully underrated, I might add, and his gadget is a drone that becomes bulletproof and explodes upon detonation. Now, for those who don't know, Siege has been suffering from a surplus of defender utility for quite some time. This gave way to the so-called 20-second meta, where attackers would spend the first 2 minutes of the round removing gadget after gadget before executing with, you guessed it, 20 seconds to go. Now, during the Neon Dawn reveal, Mian told me that Ubisoft were out to change that, but that it would be a nearly year-long process. Flores, it seems, is the headliner of step 2 of that process.
So the philosophy is twofold. As you mentioned, that is, it's a 9-month process. So 9 months ago, half of 20-second meta, we need answers to that. We know that you cannot answer the large meta problem with an operator, a single one, because if you release one operator that is supposed to address the meta, well, it becomes either a must pick or fail to do what it's supposed to do. So the key of addressing the 20-second meta came with a lot of changes that we discussed last season for Season 4. The Gowan 6 for Season 1, Melusi, Goyo, so those are the key aspects of the 20-second meta. But having this problem to solve is also an opportunity for us to make an operator that ties in to this direction, and Flores is exactly that.
Now, if you know anything about Siege, you can probably easily imagine that a remote-controlled Ash/Zofia charge meets Nitro Cell is a very effective way of removing that utility. You can also kill people with it, which, hey, we take those. I should also mention that Flores gets 4 of these little rugrats, which, considering you can straight up murder dudes with them, is a lot.
What we wanted, though, is have a gameplay between attack and defense. We want the attacker to collect information on the location of devices, then plan the path in their head, and then destroy it. But we also want the defender to play around that and know that those threats are coming in and that they can deal with it. And that's why we went for 4, right? Like those 2, 3 usually are for gadgets that are going to do their job no matter what, unless there is the specific counter against it. Here, we're more in a gray zone. Like defender can absolutely destroy all 4 of them before you can do anything. So that's why we went all the way up to 4, is because we wanted this gameplay. And that's also why they have been designed to be big and noisy.
Now, at first, I caught myself saying, that's essentially 4 lethal guided Zofia charges. That might be a little overtuned. But then I realized, so what? Wouldn't it be nice to have an attacker feel overpowered for a change, especially given how long the game has felt defender-sided? Don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for the second coming of Lion or anything like that. What I am saying is that it wouldn't hurt to throw the attackers a bone once in a while. You look at the likes of Goyo and Melusi and think, why not give the attack something as fun and destructive? Obviously, it's too early to say whether it'll end up being overpowered or not. And trust me, I'm not one of those people who freaks out every season about how imbalanced the new operator is going to be. But for the first time in a long time, I looked at the new operator and thought, damn, this could be kind of nutty. And that's probably a good thing.
I hope they're not going to be too strong, because that's not the intention. We have other ways to shift the meta between attack and defense rather than single operator. However, I really hope it's going to be good, as you said, as in useful, interesting, and more importantly, fun.
What's even crazier, though, is that they added a secondary weapon. I repeat, weapon. That essentially turns a select number of attackers into Zofia. It's a one-off grenade launcher with the same soft breach, concussive, and gadget removal capabilities as Zofia's KS-79 Lifeline.
So in the same sense that we introduced the secondary hard breach, we introduced the secondary weapon, Gowan 6, to be this alternative to Ash and Zofia. To not have Ash Zofia every round. And I'm not saying we should never pick Ash and Zofia, they're really cool characters, really fun to play, but the reliance on them, having to have them every round, I hope is no longer going to be the case.
Taken together, these could actually have a very large influence on attackers' ability to play the goddamn video game. Again, Ubisoft promised radical changes in the wake of Neon Dawn, and it is starting to look as if, soon enough, Siege will no longer be a utility removal simulator. And while it is too early to start making these kinds of sweeping declarations, I gotta say, attack is starting to look pretty strong. This is helped by the fact that, courtesy of Crimson Heist, attackers can now re-pick their operators after the prep phase. Yes, you heard me. After the prep phase. This means you can scope out where the defenders are, what their setup is, and where a certain useless spawn-peeking Jaeger is making his way before you even decide on which operator to pick. Never mind which guns, attachments, and gadgets you're gonna run.
We pick attack and prep phase. I have so many people that tells me, yes, but now as a defender, what point do I have to place a weird frost or stuff like that? They're gonna be able to adapt. Well, okay, but now when you do that, you don't really care what the attacking team is doing. They can't change anything. You don't care to drone you. You can be vigilant. They can see you. It doesn't matter. But right now, your prep phase as a defender, already a very interesting moment, becomes a lot more relevant. You have to protect yourself from drone, deny information, conceal stuff. You have much more of a gameplay with the attacking team.
Needless to say, this should do wonders for lowering the pick rate of do-it-all panacea operators like Thatcher, Hibana, and Zofia, and increase the pick rate of those niche situational operators who usually don't get picked on the off chance that they don't work out.
And the best thing of all of this is that instead of going into every round with this jack of all trade lineup with Thatcher, Thermite, and Ash and Zofia, because you want to be able to do everything, well, now you don't have to do everything. You have to do this specific task. And with this, it opens a lot of slots, a lot of interesting opportunity to bring off-meta and situational picks that are going to be relevant and tailored to the situation you've collected information on.
Next up, we've got the border rework. Look, as someone who actually hasn't been the biggest fan of how transformative the recent map reworks have been, I gotta say, I love this rework. Why? Because they barely touched the map.
It's not that the map became bad, it's that the game evolved. The players evolved, the strats evolved, the way we play Siege all together is now different. And that was exactly the philosophy for our level designer behind it. It's like, keep the good stuff and just tweak the stuff that were not completely working right.
They massaged the parts that needed massaging, in this case opening up showers and creating a connector between securities and top east stairs, and leaving virtually everything else intact. I really hope they adopt this same approach for future reworks. Like Bank. Speaking of map reworks, Ubisoft revealed that as part of their 2021 roadmap, they'd be taking a second crack at Favela and, thank the f***ing Lord, Outback. They also announced some really exciting stuff in terms of operator reworks. For starters, they're making it so that Malusi's mines are going to be a shitload easier to destroy. They're also removing the shield portion of Goyo's deployables, leaving just this kind of shrouded explosive, making his area denial a lot less oppressive. Ubisoft also teased that later in the year, we'd be seeing reworks of Mira, Maestro, Finca, and Fuse. Now, I don't know about you, but I am madly excited about these reworks. A future in which my boy Fuse is viable is the future I want my children to grow up in. But of all the things that Crimson Heist has bestowed upon we, the students of Siege, none are as holy, as hallowed, as the fact that we can finally watch a f***ing replay. That's right, Siege's match replay system is finally entering beta. I cannot overstate how life-changing this is going to be for coaches, analysts, and content creators. Look, You can't have a tier 1 esport without a replay infrastructure, and finally Siege is no longer going to be the outlier in that respect. Oh, and by the way, we're finally getting the Kali Elite that was leaked ages ago. You know, the one that turns her into a Widowmaker cosplayer? Like, bro, just look at the way she holds her rifle. Am I the only one who sees this? In fact, the only change that Crimson Heist brought that didn't immediately jump out to me as fantastic is the fact that players can now control drones and certain gadgets after death. Now, Ubisoft's motivation for making this change is totally understandable. They want to lessen the amount of time in between action phases and keep players involved and engaged at every stage of the round. The issue is that I really don't want Maestro or Echo to be able to mess with me after I've already killed them, because then, well, what was the point of killing them? As for how all of this actually pans out, or if Ubisoft actually decides to revert some of it down the road, remains to be seen.
This is a feature we're very confident in, and we know that the impact on all the operator we have is going to vary based on whether attacker or defender, what gadget they have, and we will have to, like, we're doing the big heavy lifting right now, and then we're going to have to do the fine tuning to get exactly where we're supposed to be for all of those operators.
Anyway, all in all, an absolute banger of a season reveal. Not a ton of changes, but the ones they did implement have the potential to be huge. I know it feels like we've been saying for a while now that the future of Siege is finally looking bright, but to me at least, it's starting to feel true.
Nice.
Careful.
Got him! Bruh.
Wow.
Oh,
Oh, man.
hola, hermano.
Yeah, the Colten factor is huge. Can't downplay that.
Right, run to your right, run to your left.
Yeah, boy.
Oh my god.